My name is Ariane Andrew.
And I'm Matt Dillon, and welcome to another episode of Sippin' the Tea, where we
Sip that tea, and our guests spill that
Cheers,
tea.
girl.
Cheers, Bill.
What's going on? All right. So who's this? Just in case people don't know who the little furry friends are.
For people who are sleeping under a rock, this is this is my little co-host, Glitty.
And we won't wake the beast up, but this is Mama in the you can't see pile. And today we got a full house today because we got four-legged friends. We have Mr. Oliver Trevena.
That is
actor,
true. That is me.
Host, face and brand ambassador of All Saints. I need a hook up there because that sounds fabulous.
That's why I'm here.
I was about to say, the truth comes out, my man. Thank you so much.
Lovely to meet you guys.
What's going on?
That was a really happy, bubbly intro as well.
Georgie.
This is Georgie. This is Georgie.
Hey, girl, she's serving looks.
This is Georgie. Say something, Georgie. No, don't move.
Oh, we got out of Georgie.
She was like, girl, bye.
Yeah.
But thank you for taking time out. I know you're a man on the
Thanks for having me.
Run.
Man on the run? I mean, I think I'm still on the run. I'm British in America, so you're somewhat on the run, right?
You're hustling.
You're
you kind of define for me what I feel that we do in what we're trying to achieve with doing this show, but you're the actor. You've just had 3 films that you just completed, right?
Yeah.
Take us through, because they weren't, I saw that you were overseas filming these movies.
Yeah, I was in a big period piece, 13th century, based off a big novel. We filmed it in the Ukraine.
That's amazing.
Wow.
The Rising Hawk. It was everything that you see in like those movies that you watch Braveheart, stuff like that.
Totally.
There was no CGI. I mean, there will be obviously when the film's finished, but we had to ride horses, we had to sword fight, we had to, there was like hundreds of horses and all these stunts. And I was definitely it was one of those moments, I guess, where you're like, oh yeah, I said I could do that easily enough, but I was,
but the struggle was a little real.
Horse riding, I'm like horses, yeah, of course, rode horses loads of times. I've done like the Bronson Canyon Trail, where you wear a hat and you're like leaded with a thing.
But listen, I was like, you own it. You're like, I'm going to get this.
I went all in.
You got
came off a couple of times, but it was fine. It was good.
You're here. You're in one piece.
I'm here. But that was amazing. Definitely an incredible highlight of my career. And I'm sure, it's going to be tough to beat a project like that when you kind of just go all in on a feature film, in somewhere like the Ukraine. It was stunning. I've never been.
I was about to say, that's kind of fascinating because a lot of like being a part of something on that scale in a foreign territory for you would be like, this is like the journey's on its way.
Oh, it was great.
It's kind of like when you dream. Did you dream as a child like this? I want to be. What was that moment like for you?
I have to be honest. I learned a big lesson because it wasn't until I was over there for nearly 3 months, and we were in like the Carpathian Mountains, and it was stunning and beautiful. But I was so caught up in making sure I did the best I could and stressed and doing this that. It wasn't until the end of the movie that I got really emotional in this one part. And it was a part that I shouldn't be emotional in either, so we had to redo it.
They're like, going off script.
It was like the we fight, like that kind of moment. Right, and I played this like killing machine, this Irish warrior.
Okay.
And I just started to be like, oh my God, this is like real. There's all these people, the wardrobe, it was all so real. And it was a lesson to myself that, what's the point in doing all this if you don't actually enjoy it in the moment?
Exactly. Be present. Being present.
Exactly. We're just so caught in like, oh, this is amazing, but let's just try and get it done, or let's just try and complete this, or let's just try and it all goes by and you're like, oh my God, I was in the Ukraine riding horses, doing sword.
I think that's fascinating to me. Yeah. And I think for you and for a lot of people watching and in different parts of life that sometimes we're in a race with ourselves and we don't stand back and actually sit in and just breathe.
And appreciate.
And I think the vulnerability of that, yes, you weren't supposed to be emotional in that moment, but I think that as a human being, you can't buy those moments. You can't buy those moments. And I'm sure that own that shit and take it, because I think that's exceptional.
Yeah, it was definitely a memorable moment for sure. And then, I came back off that and then did a little film in Alabama. That was completely
the juxtaposition, Alabama.
And I was just really myself. It's a UFC film with Stephen Dorff, and I was kind of playing the Joe Rogan type.
Okay.
Which obviously was, second nature, so it was pretty easy, And it was a bit weird because I've suddenly come off this I was 4 hours in hair and makeup every morning because I had a big, hair piece.
And the setup for when you were over in Ukraine though, how hard was it to shake that to come into this role in Alabama?
I mean, the way the director broke it down for me in the Ukraine, and originally going into it, I was only going to be there for like 4 weeks, and they rewrote the role, and I ended up staying for the duration. I didn't die.
Kudos
originally,
to
I was
you.
going to die. So it was great, but the way he described it to me was like, think Brad Pitt out of Snatch, where you're just full on mental, but people kind of like you at the same time.
Got it.
So I love playing that. Like it was brilliant. It was like, I mean, I was a crazy Irishman, which probably, you know, I've played most of my life in reality anyway. So, it was great. So yeah, but it was very different than going into a movie where you're just like, oh, I'm just putting on a suit and sitting on a couch and pretending that I'm a sportscaster. It was a very different, but I loved it. It was great. Yeah.
I think that's fascinating that you get to as an actor, and I think what people will find out as we delve a little deeper is that you're on multiple sides of this coin.
Right,
With the hosting, yes.
Well, that's what I'd really missed, because I grew up as an actor. I grew up as a dancer and then went into acting.
Let's rewind right back then. Hang on, a dancer?
Yeah, I was 12 years of ballet. Yeah.
That shit is, ladies and gentlemen.
I would.
That's no mean feat. What's
12 years of you don't clearly.
How are those toes looking? Let me see what those toes look like.
The knees are a bit shaky, hence all the ballet. It's taken its toll over the years.
Really?
Yeah. But I did 12 years of ballet. I mean, I tap a modern as well, and then went into theatre after that. So that was really my kind of foundation. And then hosting, I'd never done anything hosting. I'd never done a course, never even really thought about it. We call it presenting in the UK. Do you call it presenting?
I call it presenting, hosting.
Hosting, yeah. So that's, it just never really occurred to me. And then an opportunity came up for Young Hollywood when they were launching, probably now like 9-10 years ago. And I took it and fortunate enough to literally work solid for 9 years.
You've run with it.
But I will say this year I felt unchallenged, and I missed that being someone else.
Gotcha.
That I didn't just want to be myself. I'm not good if I'm just myself all the time, you know? I've become self-obsessed.
So I just
wanted to be someone else and not have to think about me.
So let's talk about the difference of that. So what kind of headspace does it take for hosting in comparison to being an actor? What would you say is harder?
I'd say it's obviously different for everyone. For me personally, I mean, definitely in the beginning, there were obviously nerves and trying to learn the craft and listening, because listening is, you know, the listening part is great because you have to listen as an actor, you have to listen as a host. You know, that's very similar. But I find acting more, you got to delve into a lot of emotion. You've got to delve into, you've got to be someone else, basically.
You pretty much are bleeding for a living.
Be someone else, but be yourself at the same time. You know, you have to bring your own to the role. But as hosting, you know, you just turn up and have fun and sip your tea and have a great laugh. But you do need to know your stuff as well. You need to do your research, and you know that there is a lot that goes into that. But I think, like anything, you know, after 9 years, you start to really own it and become good at it, which I can definitely say, you know,
I'll take my hat off on that.
Yeah,
you mentioned you started Young Hollywood. Now you're doing the
Hollywood Report. We've done that. I've done the live shows, the AMAs, the Grammys, all those sort of things, and it's great and it's enjoyable. I'm enjoying the acting right now.
I was about to say, because I think, do you find as the actor that you're like interviewing the actors and you have that kind of psychology of like, you know, if they're having a bad day, you're like, come on, get it together. Have you had any kind of, you know, bad experiences?
I mean, I've definitely had some dodgy ones.
All right, give them the dog.
Yeah.
We're going to sip our tea.
No, I will say everyone who I've kind of interviewed have been lovely. Some people have had I mean, look, press junkets are tough.
Oh.
Don't know if you know, I'm sure you know what that's like. Because if I was on a press junket and I've done 65 interviews and this is number 66, it's hard to be like,
I get that.
Hey, I really want to talk about my movie again.
Yeah.
So I kind of, you know, you show some compassion there and you just get on with it. And it's the nature of the beast. You're like, I didn't get them this morning, I got them this afternoon. It makes a big difference. And you kind of just roll with it. So I wouldn't say I've had any bad experiences. There's been a couple, but I won't talk about them.
Are you
I remember having to wait for hours, if you really want me to delve into it, for Nicki Minaj. We were meant to be doing an interview at American Idol, and I was backstage, and it was just taking hours. And in the end, I was like, you know what, guys, I'm out.
He bounced.
Oh.
I bounced. So I never interviewed Nicki Minaj.
Yeah, I would say no great luck.
I know.
Yeah.
Let's sip some of this tea.
But everyone else has been lovely. She might have been lovely. I just never.
I'm sure. What are some of your highlights in terms of, you know, people that maybe you were an admirer of or something? Being the actor though, because you would have this look. Have you interviewed anybody as you were building your acting craft that has been an inspiration for you?
I will say the nice part about the hosting, which I've really enjoyed. I mean, obviously, I started as an actor and then shifted into the hosting, but seeing a lot of my friends as actors come up and then getting to interview them in those moments was great, because we just had generally so much fun during the interview.
Yeah.
Because it was like sitting with your mate and just talking and being like, I can't believe it, mate. I just saw your film and you're jumping out of helicopters, and you know, it's that like genuine excitement that you kind of talk about, which has been really nice.
I like that. I like the totality of like, you come at it from a really unique perspective, having both sides of the coin, and I feel like, you know, God, next year is going to be a big year for you.
Yeah,
projects at the wazoo, and you're like,
I'm looking forward to it. It'll be good. It'll be good. I think that's the only difference for me. I mean, the movies were definitely, I guest starred on a bunch of TV shows, you know, back in the day when I first moved to the States, and I have a complete different respect for actors, because some of the days were like, I mean, it was like 13, 14-hour days, physical, and I was completely beat. The only reason I was loving it is because I was just genuinely loving it, but I could see some of them were like, we can't do this again. We need, you know, they're forcing the call, which basically means when you get a forced call, that you're meant to get a certain amount of hours off between takes, and they can't give you those hours off, so you get paid a nice little bit of cash, and then you have to wake up after 4 hours and be back on set again. So it's tough, and also just that inside of seeing how an actual movie is made, you know, how slow it is.
Oh yeah,
the process of it
takes time.
It was great too. But yeah, it's just been nice. It's been nice to just roll with it.
What advice would you give like up and coming actors? You know what I mean? Because being an actor, it takes a lot, and for most people, it's like it's a huge investment. You have to make a lot of investment with class, pictures, and keeping up with your brand. And nowadays, with like having to produce your own content to stand out. So like, what advice would you give up and coming actors, or people who have been doing it for a long time but are struggling to get that big break?
Me personally, I mean, some of the toughest parts of my career, I guess my well-being, my own mental state, has definitely been like, don't compare yourself. Try not to compare yourself in everyday life and in your career.
Can you say that?
Yeah, don't compare yourself, because you are you. No one else is you, and everyone's path is different. And some people get lucky, and some people luck takes a while, but persistence does pay off. I honestly believe that if you stick with something long enough, you will get there. Yeah, that's my advice. Just don't compare yourself, because I still go down the rabbit hole now. I'll go on social media, or I see a friend that just booked this gig, and as soon as you go down that path of why, you know, is it because he's this, or is it because he's that, or this? It's just dangerous.
Especially with social media, because a lot of people put what they don't want you to see. Like they don't they put the best version of themselves, and sometimes it's their best lie, not their best life. So it is, I mean, for all of us, we're human, right? So sometimes we do look at other people and say, oh man, I wish I had that. Right. So that's that's very good advice to give people out there.
In life, I think.
And just in life, period, like stay, because when you stay in your lane, there is no traffic. You know what I mean? So.
Oh, I like that line.
And it can take no preset amount of time. It takes what it takes, and it's the effort you put in. And I think having both sides of the coin for you, being able to do that, and also you work with fashion labels. Right.
NFS.
You really are kind of...
Not for Sale was a big influence in my life, in the way of my own mental state of mind to keep myself going. Because I would catch myself, as you know, in Hollywood, we have to think about ourselves because it's our career. So with that comes a bit of self-obsession. But that self-obsession can get dangerous if it's too much.
True.
And I think getting out of yourself and doing stuff, you know, on the field, charity work, stuff like that, it's definitely helped me. And when I say charity work, for a good few years for Not For Sale, I was just hosting their charity events and doing stuff like that. Eventually we have a shelter in Thailand now that I go to every year, and working with these kids, and I say kids, some of them are like 16, 18, moving on, you know, adults. You can't leave, no human being can go somewhere like that for 2-3 weeks and then leave with the same train of thought they went in. It's just impossible. It's impossible. So I always try and do that, you know, in a weird, selfish way. It helps me as much as it helps them, you know.
It's win-win for both parties.
Yeah.
And I think it's beautiful to hear you say that, and it's so true. Nobody can do something like that and not be affected by it. And hopefully grow and develop. Because I think when you stop learning and developing is when you might as well just go
it's
throw
like
yourself over.
Yeah, it's like what Albert Einstein says: the day you stop learning and growing is the day you start dying.
Right. And that, going back, that's the big reason why I took the shift this year. You know, it was a big jump for me. I was like, I want to do acting again. And obviously, you know, you have agents and you have managers and you have people earning money. They're like, oh, really? We like you as a host.
Yeah.
But it's a gamble, and that for me was that exact feeling of I wasn't learning anymore. I didn't have that drive as much. Don't get me wrong, I love hosting, and I'll always like to go back to it. But for now, it was just like I really just want to.
Seems like the trajectory is going. I feel like everything's a chapter, and I feel like you're in the chapter three back-to-back films. Once they crescendo out,
exactly,
I think that's.
And don't get me wrong, I think the fortunate place we're in our industry is. You know, 5-10 years ago, it would have been like, are you a host? Are you an actor?
Exactly.
You can do whatever you want.
You can do whatever you want now.
The Rock is the biggest movie star in the world and is like, came from wrestling.
Came from my world.
We'll host.
In the same world.
Right. Yeah. And we'll host an award show or, you know, no one's looking at anyone to be anything. You're your own brand now. And
show up, do the job. Harness the craft, whatever that craft is that you're doing.
As much as I say I love my acting, it doesn't mean I'm not hosting an award show.
He's that catch your neck. Oh, the award show. You can do it.
Yeah. Didn't you said you want to do the Golden Globes, right?
I've done the Golden Globes, like pre-show and stuff.
Okay, yeah. So you.
But I would love to do a big award show. I mean, that would be amazing.
Yeah. I just had a moment here of clarity of like how I've known you before and how we almost did a photo shoot with you.
What happened?
Resident Magazine.
Yes.
When Mariana Hewitt, you did, where did you go?
Yeah. We Galapagos Island.
Galapagos Islands. They were supposed to have Ariane go, and we were like negotiating. Yeah.
Oh my God!
I just
sat here and I was like, "That's
what a small world."
Galapagos Islands. Honestly, it was insane.
I love Mariana too. Let me just tell you,
the most magical place on the planet.
But we were literally in final negotiations for that, and then I literally just looked at you and I was like,
"Yeah, that was it."
Crazy.
Small world.
They were like, would you want to do a magazine cover in the Galapagos Islands? I was like, yes.
Yeah.
That's a good magazine too. They make it. It's a beautiful,
they're
publication.
Great. They're great.
Now we're going to get on to the real tea, honey, the fashion. Because that's another branch, and I think it again shows me how acutely intelligent and divisive you are in terms of having so many branches on your thing.
Yeah, you definitely built your brand.
One thing I will say is you need it. That's the other thing.
Sure.
I can't.
You ain't Target, honey, but you All Saints.
Right.
I was like, like you.
Global brand ambassador.
Too, but I'm like, All Saints, global. Everybody knows it.
Yeah.
What's that like? Because for
me, it's great because I kid you not. This is a true story. I used to clean, when I was like 15, 16, I would clean vans and trucks for my dad. My dad has a trucking company.
Okay.
And when I say clean the trucks, it'd be freezing cold in England. My hands used to crack. I still have like red hands from like those days. I'd have to clean out the ashtrays in the trucks. It was the most disgusting job. But I would get paid my £20 and I would save it up and I would get the train to Brighton at I think it was their second ever All Saints store, and I'd buy a pair of jeans or I'd buy a pair of boots. And my mum would go mad and go, "Why are you doing that? That's 5 weeks' money on a pair of stupid boots. You look like Pinocchio."
That sounds like my mother.
Yeah, and I'd buy these boots and then cut to however many years it was later, I'm their global brand ambassador. So yeah, it's
kudos to you.
Very enjoyable. I love the brand. It's great. I'm also colorblind, so it helps that most of their colors are like kind of easy to match.
I love it.
That's good.
I think in terms of your trajectory, and you could,
You're killing
fly to the moon.
Well, here's the thing I will say, killing it to some extent. I'm learning at this point to try and enjoy the moment because that was the trouble. You're on the wheel and you always want more,
I feel like that's the most important thing that you brought up in this conversation.
Because we can always do better. You can always think in your mind, but I could do this,
be better.
I could get this.
But think about it, the process is where the exciting part, because once you get there, it's like, okay, now what? So it's like you have to enjoy the process of the good and the bad. And I think we all get sometimes super lost in our worlds and what we do and say, I can't wait to get there. But that's the whole fun of it, is getting there.
Right.
I love that. Really resonated with me. Like you showed up, you're in the Ukraine, and then you had that one moment where it didn't really fit the timing to be having that moment. But it just makes you so relatable in general.
Right.
Like you're in this bubble world, we're in this bubble world, but what you did and how you reacted to you just didn't happen to be on that set by sheer luck.
Right.
That's a depth of storyline for you growing up, cleaning the trucks.
Right.
You know what I mean? I think hard work
People think it's an overnight success, but it never really is. You know, you never really look at it that way. But yeah, I mean, for me as well, you have to kind of branch off, and for me, I've always been this way, to keep some other things going, like to curate like the fashion and this and stuff, because as we know, work's so up and down.
In this entertainment industry,
exactly.
yes.
And I don't think, being in LA, being away from my family, you know, I'm very close to my family. I have 3 older brothers, and they all live on the same street in our small little town.
Wow.
Being away from them and being here and not doing anything is a really dangerous place for my mind.
Yeah.
Like, I'd be like, oh, I'm here and I'm lonely, so what should I do?
I saw the Instagram with your parents where you told them you were going to go take them to go with the sharks.
Oh, yeah.
They were like, no, we're not.
Yeah, my parents are absolutely hilarious.
Yeah.
They're great people. So, you know, being so far away from them, if there's a reason for it, it's more, you know,
busy.
Yeah, exactly.
You got to keep busy. I mean,
an idle mind is a dangerous one.
Yeah.
Say that down there.
An idle mind is a dangerous one. You want a quote? I told this to someone this morning, a friend of mine who's going through some stuff. My grandma used to say this to me. It's not, she didn't make the quote up. It's a very well-known quote, just to clarify. I'm not trying to steal it.
But we love you, Nan.
She's dead. If you shout it loud enough, though, you'll probably get there.
Right through there.
I'm dead.
It's all right. She was Irish. She went happy. I think she went with a drink in her hand. It was fine.
So she good.
She lived her best life.
Yeah, gin and tonic. She was great. She said, it's always okay in the end. If it's not okay, it's not the end.
I think that's no better way to finish this segment.
Right? On that note, on that note, we're going to go ahead and have you plug in your social media so everyone can keep up with you on everything that you're doing.
Perfect. I'm just at Oliver Trevena on Twitter, Instagram. I don't really use Facebook. I'm pretty terrible at it. I should. But yeah, Instagram's the one to hit me up on.
What about Georgie?
Yeah,
you know what? Georgie doesn't have a handle.
You need to get Georgie a handle.
She was on every one of my Young Hollywood episodes back in the day.
Oh, come on.
And had photos with everyone you can imagine. I just didn't get into
You just want the shine for yourself. You're trying to be selfish.
You figured me out. For the
you don't want her to overshine you. Okay.
It's all about me.
I just bought mine. I was like,
on that note, it's about me, but I'm going to give Glitty a little bit of some airtime. You can follow me across the board at Ariane Andrew and this little nugget at Glitty Glit.
I'm Matt Dillon. You can follow me at Matt Dillon 1983 and It's Mama 2011. And to our guest, Georgie.
Georgie, great job. Thank you.
Thank you so much, brother.
Thank you, guys.
Georgie.
Oh.
Yep.
Do it. High five.
Come here.
Hey, girl.
Georgie, come up.
Oh.
And on that note, we out of here. Until next time.
On Focus TV Network, on Sippin' the Tea. We will catch you guys later. Bye.
Peace.
Cheersies.
Cheers.
Cheers. Ooh.
Yeah, you got the wrong number. Click.